In my mid-20s, I was diagnosed with cavernous angioma, which is a malformation of blood vessels in the brain. And at that time, doctors told me that I would have to be on medication for an indefinite time. I'm Diaz, founder of Toucan Canada. I'm here to share my health journey. When I married Emmy, my now wife and personal certified nutritionist, I discovered a whole world of healthy living and clean eating. And that was the beginning of my medication-free journey. Living healthy is hard. Waking up at 5 every morning for runs and workouts, making sure we have a clean, disciplined diet. We do our best to keep healthy and active with maximum consistency. In order to spread this lifestyle with others, we wanted to create a clean and honest product for people who are inspired in a similar way. We were able to achieve 100% unadulterated extra virgin olive oil. The meaning of that, the oil is not blended with other inferior quality oils. Our oil is pressed from olives originating from my home country and one of the world's top olive oil producers, Tunisia. We want to share that the smallest diet choices like oils make an impactful difference towards a healthy diet.
A good olive oil should be fruity, have a medium to intense bittery and peppery taste, and low in acidity.
The bittery taste means our oil has good amounts of phytonutrients, antioxidants, phenol and salicylate, which all contribute to killing cancer cells and keeping the immune system healthy.
It was difficult at first to transition to a clean diet, but as Robin Sharma always says, change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and so gorgeous in the end. By having a clean diet and healthy lifestyle, I can confirm that I can live my dream to trek high altitude mountains, do long distance bikepacking, and inspire others along the way.
Everyone, welcome to this exciting event. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lynn Hinton. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, been practicing for 24 years, and I own a business, a nutritional consulting business called Health House, healthhouse.ca, along with my partner Marlene Marshall, and we do nutritional consulting with our clients. And we also co-own a nutritional school, Edison Institute of Nutrition, and we train practitioners to do what we do. Our program is all online, it's worldwide, and if you'd like to see what we have to offer there, you can see our whole program at edisoninst.com. nutritionist.com. And if you're not interested in becoming a holistic nutritionist, but you just want to learn some basic information about nutrition, we also have a program called introductory program, and it's for anybody. As I said, it's not to qualify you to be a practitioner, but it'll give you some basic fundamentals of nutrition and teach you some things that can help you with your own health. So what I'd like to talk about is what we teach our students and our clients is to look for underlying causes, or what we call root causes, that connect to your health issues. You can take a lot of supplements or a lot of prescription drugs to manage your symptoms, or what I call band-aid your symptoms. But what would be really important to know, and what we practice and what we teach, is to get to underlying causes or root causes so that we can resolve that, and then we don't need to take a lot of prescription drugs or supplements to keep ourselves in optimal health. So let's look at what happens when we start to get symptoms and start to have problems. So there's what we call the 5 underlying causes of disease. And those are issues that relate to electrical magnetic frequencies in our environment, radiation, things like cell phone technology, x-rays, medical x-rays, things like that can affect our cells. Also, chemicals and metals in our environment we're getting through our water sources, through our food that has pesticides and chemicals added to it. We're also getting exposure to metals through the environment as well. Diet obviously affects our health as well. So that's a big underlying cause when we're not eating a nice, healthy diet. Also, things like emotions can affect our health big time. So when we teach the emotional connections to what's happening with our symptoms as well. And also, the 5th underlying cause is something called the focus of infection. So this is what goes on in our bowel, where we can have what we call dysbiosis, or an imbalance in the terrain in the bowel. So all of these things affect our terrain. So we're going to look at how we can manage that terrain and keep ourselves in good health. At Edison and Health House, we also teach live cell microscopy. And in live cell microscopy, we teach you to look at the blood when it's alive and what that might indicate about your symptoms. So this is a picture of live blood. These are our red blood cells magnified at about 800 times. So when we look at the blood, we look at the red blood cells. This picture doesn't have white blood cells in it, but we also look at those as well. And what's important to understand about red blood cells, they should be nice and smooth and round. They should be equal sizes, no misshapen cells. And they should be nice and separate, like we see in this picture, because the job of a red blood cell is to deliver oxygen to our tissues. So it needs to be able to flow easily and not be stuck together so that it can get into the microcapillaries and deliver that oxygen. So all our cells in our body, not just red blood cells, all our cells have what's called a negative charge, or a zeta potential, on the outside of the cell. And what happens, all of those underlying causes that I just mentioned, if any of that is going on in our terrain or our environment around the cells, it can alter that negative charge into a positive charge. And we know that negative repels negative. That's what helps to keep these cells nice and separate. But if we alter those charges to positive, then positive is going to attract to negative. So in this picture over here, what we're seeing is all the red blood cells all stuck together and stacked up. It's a condition called rouleau. which means a stack of coins. And we know that these red blood cells are not going to be able to get into those little microcapillaries. In fact, they're going to get stuck in there, and that could cause a clot or a more serious issue. Also, in between the red blood cells, we can see what's called spicules or fibrin, and these are protein threads. They're inflammatory markers. So when we've got irritation going on in the tissues, in our blood vessels, in our lymphatics, in our gut, in the body, we start to produce these what we call clotting factors to help plug the hole. If we've got leaky gut, for example, there's holes in the tissue, in the skin. So the body's trying to plug those holes with these clotting factors. So when we look at live blood, we want to figure out why the cells aren't staying nice and separate when we see them in a nice healthy picture like this. In between the cells are little dots. These little dots are called symphrotits. Those are basic units of life that we all have in our body. And when we see this live, you'll see those little symphrotits moving. And their job is to help clean up any protein waste or debris that's not supposed to be in the picture. So what we're going to look at is how to keep these cells nice and healthy. So they have what's called a bilipid membrane, or a double fat membrane on them. And that double fat membrane keeps the cell nice and smooth and slippery so that it can slip into those capillaries and deliver the oxygen. So things like the olive oil and all of our good fats in our diet, like avocados, raw nuts and seeds, the good fats in fish, and the good fats in animal products, eggs, things like that, are all really important to maintain that integrity on that red blood cell. And when we look at all the underlying causes that I talked about, we want to eliminate those things in our environment so that the cells can keep that negative charge and stay nice and healthy and separate. So if you go on our website, healthhouse.ca, you'll see a free downloadable PDF there. And it's called the 5 Underlying Causes of Disease. So this is what we teach at Edison, is to look at all these underlying causes and help the individual resolve some of those underlying causes, get some of these things out of your environment so that your cells can maintain that integrity and remain nice and healthy. So I hope that helped you learn something about your body that you can take action with right now. Get some of Ziad's wonderful olive oil and start adding that to your foods, to your salads, and incorporating that into your environment around these cells. So thank you for listening. And I hope you learned something, and check out our websites if you want to learn more. You can join us at Edison Institute of Nutrition. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure you heard about the importance of proteins, right? Especially when it comes to athletic performance and improved body composition. But what about the other macronutrients? Yeah, I'm talking about carbohydrates and fats. What's the importance for fit individuals and for athletic performance? Or let's say you're not an athlete, but you're physically active. Do protein, carbohydrates, and fat still play an important role in your diet? Good evening, everyone. My name is Laís Marcon. I'm a CNP. I have a bachelor's degree in pharmacy, and I'm a weight management specialist. Today, I want to discuss with you the importance of a macronutrient balanced diet to achieve fitness and health goals. And I want to start with the basics. Let's start with what are macronutrients? Well, macronutrients are nutrients in food that break down to provide our body with energy. Simple like that, aka calories. The three main macronutrients in foods are carbohydrates, fat, and protein. And I'm gonna start with them. Yeah, I'm gonna start with the carbohydrates. Well, carbohydrates seem to be getting negative publicity in the press lately, right? But they are really important for physically active individuals. In fact, there are many types of healthy carbohydrates that should be included in everyone's diet. Not only from an athletic perspective, but carbohydrates are also important for general health. Carbohydrates provide the energy for our body, including our muscles, brain, nerves, and other body tissues. They are the fastest way our body has to produce energy. Like anytime you are performing an activity in which you need a lot of energy and fast, like resistance in training, carbohydrates are the predominant energy source during those activities. Like heat, CrossFit. Eating the right proportion of carbohydrates 1 or 2 hours prior to your exercise helps maintain optimal levels of blood glucose in our muscles. Even a rest. Let's say you are in bed or sitting on a couch, our body still uses carbohydrate. But usually fat's the main source for those situations, but I'll get there later. Carbohydrates are also important to recover our body from physical activities and prevent the breakdown of protein in our bodies. The best source of carbohydrates are those ones that comes from food but provide other nutrients too, like fibers and phytochemicals. For example, whole grains like oatmeal, wheat, fruits, vegetables. See, eat your veggies. Let's talk about the most popular one in the group, proteins. Yeah, if you're like most people, you probably have a general sense of what protein is and why it's good for you. It's eggs, meat, stuff like that, and helps to get our muscles bigger, right? In fact, protein is essential for all of us, not just bodybuilders, okay? Proteins are building blocks for other bodily tissues, including bones, cartilage, skins, and blood. Proteins are also needed for muscle maintenance, for the production of different enzymes, vitamins, and hormones. Yeah, they are vital. Proteins are vital when it comes to muscle repair and growth. Like, exercise works by doing tiny amounts of damage to the muscles in our body, right? When the muscle repair themselves, afterwards, they get stronger and fitter. You see, proteins are the star for muscle repair. Plus, proteins are satisfying and filling. Yep, it makes your body feel fuller for longer, and it doesn't give you the same highs and lows that carbs do. Do you see why protein is so important to stay healthy and fit? But what type of protein should we consume? The best source of proteins are lean meat, poultry, eggs, seeds, seafoods, peas, nuts, and seeds. Well, it's important to consume protein from different sources, like fish and seeds provide other nutrients like vitamins and minerals and essential fatty acids. Talking about essential fatty acids, last but not least, let's talk about fats. Fats are also sometimes seen as negative, but this cannot be further from the truth. And did you know that our brain is made up for over 60% of fats? Yeah, fats are also called fatty acids or lipids. Fats in our body are made up of 3 molecules joined together called triglycerides. Fats can be divided in 4 major groups: monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, saturated fats, and trans fats. We should focus on consuming mostly, but not only, monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. They are proven to provide a range of health and performance benefits for us. Athletes must consume the right amount of fat daily, as it plays several roles in their body, from providing energy for low-intensity activities to absorption of certain vitamins, especially vitamins A, D, E, and K. It also helps lower LDL cholesterol and protecting vital organs and aiding hormone production. Omega-3 is a specific type of polyunsaturated fats that's worth mentioning, since its potential ability to reduce inflammation. Well, while athletes require some inflammation to maximize their training adaptation, excess inflammation isn't beneficial to either their health or performance. These functions are very important for general health and physical activity. Like during lower intensity physical activities and physical activities performed for a longer duration of time, fuel comes from fat. So fat is the main source of energy. Now you're probably wondering, what are the best sources of fat, right? Some of the best sources are olive oil, walnut, fish, and peanuts. Oh, and almonds too. But how much should we consume? Well, the current guideline recommends something between 20 and 35% of your daily caloric intake coming from fat. But that actually would depend on the individual, right? For example, an athlete with a large training load may require a greater proportion of fat in their diet when compared to an athlete with a smaller training load. The key here is that every athlete needs to consume fat in their diet. Fat is a must. I know protein tends to get all the glory when we think about physical activity, but both carbohydrates and fat are also very, very important. They both provide energy along with other important functions. I hope by now you know the importance of all main 3 macronutrients in anyone's diet, especially for fit individuals. One thing that I always like to say to my client is, knowledge is power. And now you have the knowledge. Thank you so much, guys. If you want more information about this topic or related to weight loss and sport nutrition, please follow my Instagram page, laismarcon.nutri, and feel free to message me. I would be more than happy to interact with you, okay? Thank you so much again, and have a great evening.
Hi, my name is Miriam de Groot and I'm an integrative nutrition, lifestyle and wellness coach for women. I coach women who have hormonal imbalances and are suffering from stress and burnout. About 12 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 thyroid cancer and I had to have my thyroid removed and undergo radiation therapy. I had a lot of stress in my life post-thyroidectomy and it led to many things. I had increased weight gain, mood swings, hormonal imbalances, and the stress cycle just continued. A few years later, I was still not fully recovered from my surgery and my hormonal imbalances, and I had my first child. And everything was great in the beginning, and then when she was about 18 months, she was diagnosed with many food allergies and she was suffering from many things. And me being the mom that I was, I dove headfirst into trying to find a cure for her. And unfortunately, I neglected my own health, and I was suffering from a lot of stress, trying to understand and figure out how to help my child thrive, and ended up being diagnosed with adrenal fatigue. Now, it isn't uncommon for somebody who has thyroid issues to also have adrenal problems. They're so interconnected. But it was a shock to the system, and I realized that if I didn't fix some of the things in my lifestyle ASAP, I wasn't heading for a very good place. So initially I started to look at the foods that I was eating, where it was coming from, how it was grown, what was used on my food when it was grown, such as pesticides. I started to look at the Clean 15 Dirty Dozen list and try to consume organic where possible and avoid the things that were on the Dirty Dozen list if I couldn't afford to buy that organically. I researched many things food related and started to reduce my intake of sugar, gluten and dairy, and immediately I found that I had more energy, more clarity, and more vitality. I also started to use essential oils in my life, so oils to uplift, citrus oils that would help me to be uplifted, grounding oils to help me feel calm, so lavender, Roman chamomile, bergamot, and I used to pepper those out throughout my day. And these were just small actions that I would take throughout the day just to help me cope with the day-to-day stresses of life. I also started to watch funny videos on YouTube because laughter is a form of medicine, in my opinion. I used to watch stand-up, You've Been Framed, Whose Line Is It Anyway, just anything that would make me laugh. And I would do that once a day. And then I started to find ways to intuitively move. So for me, in the beginning, it was really hard to exercise because I had such an excessive amount of weight gain after my thyroid removal that just even thinking about exercise was extremely daunting and left me sweating. So my way of moving was to put on some music and just jump around the kitchen and shake out the sillies, and I started doing that with my eldest at the time, and now we as a family tend to do that often. We love shaking out the sillies. And I also then discovered cold immersion, so Wim Hof therapy. I started to take cold showers once every night before bed, and I immediately found that helped to increase my deep sleep and helped me to wake up with more energy and really feeling rested. I then started to cold plunge in Lake Ontario, so I would go into the lake once a week through the winter, and it just gave me such a boost of energy and helped me to deal with day-to-day stresses, and the change in my energy and mood was just it was just phenomenal. So I do that once a week now. After all these incidents in my life, I decided to study integrative nutrition with the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York. And what I love about integrative nutrition is that it connects the dots between what and how we eat and other forms of nourishment off our plate, such as connection, spirituality, movement, job satisfaction, finances. And I think that we underestimate how much stress off our plate can impact our overall health. And so I love to combine the two of like what's on your plate and what's off your plate, and help my clients to understand that it's not just what you're consuming in terms of food, it's also what you're consuming in terms of the stress in other areas of your life. and how to bring those into balance. And so one of the ways that I coach my clients is to help them pepper in different tools throughout the day to help them manage those day-to-day stresses. So we can never eliminate stress from our lives, but we can really manage the way that we deal with those stresses. And so cold plunging, essential oils, the food that you put into your mouth, how you're nourishing your mind, EFT tapping, laughter, intuitively moving, and I found that those have been a key part of redefining what self-care can look like for many women. So if you would like to learn more about my coaching style and would like to talk about anything that's going on with you, please do not hesitate to contact me. I would be really honored to be a part of your healing journey, and you can find me at my website or on my Instagram page. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Maddie Lynn, and I am a certified nutritional practitioner and a stage 4 cancer survivor. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, my experience with nutrition, and why I decided to become a nutritionist. So it wasn't until my health was taken away and jeopardized that I became a little bit more aware of my health and a little bit more aware of why it's important to take care of my health from a preventative measure as opposed to a reactive measure. So never in a million years at the age of 16 did I think that I was going to struggle with severe bloating, digestive discomfort, or even experience the diagnosis of cancer. So at 16, I was actually diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And at that age, I didn't really know much other than the word cancer. At 16, I didn't think that cancer was able to affect adult and young adults. I knew it was, but I didn't think it was going to affect me specifically. I was overly healthy, like health conscious to some degree, but I also played high-level sports. I played competitive soccer, I played competitive hockey, and I didn't really think that I had a lot of zest for life, and I didn't really think that anything along those lines would affect me directly. And it wasn't until the complications following post-chemo, so when I was in remission, I didn't really realize the importance of looking at upstream health. So looking at preventative measures and why it was really important to look at health from an individual level. And that's why I specialize in what I specialize in. So I specialize actually in a bio-individual perspective on health. So looking at things from a gut health perspective, because at the age of 16, when I was finishing chemo, I didn't really know much about the whole gut health component. And I guess that's kind of a buzzword in today's world. So at the age of 16, it wasn't really talked about, especially in a reactive measure, so a little bit more of the healthcare system. Gut health wasn't really discussed. So I had constantly been complaining about feeling bloated, feeling a lot of digestive discomfort, feeling a lot of gas. And at 16, I had thought, oh, maybe it's something hormonal, maybe it's supposed to be this way. I didn't really know any better because I wasn't really a science major at the time. I was kind of taking it day by day, and I didn't really think that I was going to be directly affected by post-chemo experiences or symptoms. And it wasn't until that minute that I was kind of like, you know what? Something needs to be done. And that was when I saw a nutritionist and a naturopath in downtown Toronto. And that was when they made me realize the importance of food and the importance of looking at your health from a preventative measure. So when I addressed my concerns and I was explaining what I had been experiencing post-chemo and why I was experiencing certain things after certain things that I was eating, my gut basically was completely totaled from chemotherapy because it kills both good and bad cells when you undergo chemotherapy, and that does not discriminate against your gut. So just because it may possibly be attacking certain cancer cells does not mean that it's not attacking healthy cells that could be supporting you as well. which is something that I've come to quickly learn now in my profession. But back then it was a little bit less of a well-discussed thing, or it's a little bit more nuanced now, so there's a little bit more discussion behind that and the healing power of foods. So now when I look at health, I look at things from a holistic perspective. So after my experience with a naturopath and a nutritionist, I have really learned how to up-level my health, and the fact that looking at health from a very clear lens does not just come from nutrition. You actually have to focus on all of the foundations of health, which come from movement, sleep, stress, connection. It comes from nutrition as well, which is why I think it's really important when we look at health to look at it from a little bit more of an individual level, which is why I do one-on-one individual consultations, but I also do group knowledge translation, because I think that's really important. That was something that was kind of a missing piece when I was undergoing a lot of my health barriers, that knowledge translation was huge. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know why I was doing what I was doing, and ways to help alleviate anything that I was experiencing, anything that I was agreeing to. And I think that's really important. To be an advocate of your own health, you need to know what's going on, and you need to be able to ask questions, and you need to be able to know what kind of questions you should be asking, which is why I have gone this route, because I think going into nutrition, a lot of the times people think of it as like a diet, and people think of it as a restrictive mindset. And from my personal experience, that wasn't the case. A lot of it was lack of knowledge, and that's why I choose to take a perspective of empowering people to take charge of their own health. So I am really here to ensure that you understand the decisions you're making, and to make sure that you're making the decisions through a knowledgeable and practical way of making a decision. You feel empowered to make a decision because you know what's going on with your current state of health, which is a really important tool, especially when it comes to preventative medicine and preventative nutrition, and using those tools and resources that we occur and that we engage with every single day. So every choice you make in terms of making and eating your food is a choice that you're making to support yourself. It's a preventative measure, and it's really important to know the choices that you're making are in support of you, and that they are not working against you, they're working with you. Because the choices we make are a direct reflection of our health and our longevity.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. As a big thank you, we'll randomly select 3 attendees from today's event. Please drop your names in the chat so we can enter them in the wheel of names. Please find details on our social media, and the lucky 3 winners will be announced on Facebook and Instagram on May the 31st. So stay tuned.